Check, check, 1, 2. Okay, hello. All right, can we go ahead and bring it to me? Bring the camera to me real quick. Even on the live stream. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, what's up, y'all? Real quick, just to let you know, we are live to the internet right now, but don't worry, we're just gonna show them what they're missing. So we're gonna come on with a wide angle. We're gonna let the crowd know what's going on. We're gonna let the audience build on YouTube. What's up, YouTube? If you're watching, hello, and welcome to the first ever State of Flow. We got a bunch of people down here in St. Pete, Florida. What's up? Okay, so we got another 15 minutes. There's 15 people watching right now. They don't even know the stream starts till 6. So we're gonna let this build up for a little bit. We're gonna let YouTube do its thing. Check, check. Let's go. What's up? State of Flow, hello! Can we give it up for Sammy and my boy Sean and Enrique, who have been doing the music out front. We're going to have so much entertainment for you guys tonight. Groove Church is going to lay it down. Got a couple things we want to do. First of all, hello to everybody watching online. Thank you for hanging with us. We're glad you're here. Thank you for everyone who came out today, sitting here with us. This is a hell of an experience for me to put this together and to be here with all of you. So let me get my little notes out. Enrique told me today that it's going to be a full moon, and it's a harvest moon, which is interesting to me because it means we're about to harvest in this moon. The idea is that you're harvesting what you put your work in for the summer. Right, and I didn't know that, but it's kind of cool that today and tonight is kind of what brings that together, because I think a lot of us are reaping, over the last couple years, the work that we've been putting in, learning Webflow, et cetera, starting our businesses, whatever it is. So here we are harvesting that work. So round of applause to all of you. Okay, so here's how it's going to go. We have a final game of Freelance Feud to play. I know everyone's waiting for the stream to start. Just 1 second. We're going to finish this game of Freelance Feud. So if you were on our winning teams, come on up. Yeah, if you were on the 2 winning teams, Freelance Feud, it's game time. Da, 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 da. Okay. Okay, and for anybody who's watching online and wasn't here, we played qualifying rounds of Freelance Feud earlier during the State of Play. These are our 2 winning teams. One team is going to be State, one team is going to be Flow. Where's the rest of our team? Diego left, he's fired. Yeah, who's gonna sub in? You guys get to pick. You need 2 subs, right? Are you missing 2?
Aaron, you wanna sub in?
We need a sub. Who else?
Raise your hand if you want to sub.
Come on up. Okay. All right. Josh, where's my coin? It's like they're in short supply. Okay. Call it. Heads it is. All right, so we're going to start this out. Question number 1, you get the first swing at it. Name a hurdle you might face when starting out as a freelancer. Ooh, okay. Let's call that. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. All right. You guys going to play or you want to pass? We'll play. Playing. Step off. Okay, come on up, you guys. Who's next? Ivan, give me an answer. What is a hurdle you might face when starting out as a freelancer? All right. That's kind of the same thing, right? I don't know. I think we got to give this to you, actually. Not going to lie. No client, first client, right? I don't know. It's hard. I don't know how specific you need to get, right? Okay. You're right. Technicality. I'll take the strike back. Okay, something else. Aaron, a hurdle you might face when starting out as a freelancer?
No money.
Finances. Bang. Nice shot. Okay. Who's next? Uh-oh, somebody's got to go. We got 6 up here now? Oh, you were on, get out of here. You weren't on the winning team, were you? Was this guy on your team? Look at this. Listen, this is how I do things. Okay, was Mason on the team? I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't actually know. Was he on the team with y'all? If so, then we got to get rid of one of the step-ins, the last-minute step-ins. One of y'all got to go. Okay, Mason, you're up. Name or hurdle you might face when starting out as a freelancer. Oh, I'm gonna call that time management. Nice, very nice. Okay, that fits. Okay, we got 3 more possibilities. A process. That's not up here, but I can't get the X because I already did you one fake X. All right. And
I have those, so I'm going to pass to the back around.
you can't do that.
We've hit everything that I can think of.
There's definitely more. Name a hurdle you might face when starting out as a freelancer. And legal is not on the board. You guys get a chance. Oh, wait. No, yeah. Scope creep is not on the list. Let me make sure. No, it's not on the list. Okay, we have exposure, right? That's for sure a hurdle. What about confidence? Having the confidence to go out to market. And then what about pricing? How do you price your projects? Yeah, bomp, bomp, bomp. Okay, so it is your points. Team. All right, cool. Next question. Okay, this one should be pretty good. All right, so we're gonna call it. Heads it is. What is the best channel for marketing in 2022? I just had the answer key sitting face up on the table. YouTube. We're gonna go. That's Google. All right. Got one better than that? Bro. Okay, you guys gonna play it or you wanna pass? Okay, I reset the X's. Okay, name the best marketing channel in 2022. Instagram. We're gonna call that Meta. It fits in the box. What is LinkedIn? What are you like, 40? Marketing channel, Twitter, he says. By the way, if you're in this community and you're not on Twitter, get with it. You'll see that everyone's got their Twitter handles on here. Twitter is the best community for this visual development / no-code space, so jump on that game. Okay, nice job. Next. Facebook. Bro, Meta is already on the board. So you get a... Yo, for real? You about to let me X on a blank right here? Okay, you guys got a steal? Huddle up, you got 10 seconds for a steal here. They got you with the sneakiest one. They stole the points with the sneakiest one. Okay, first of all, how do you not say email? Like every product you ever sign up for is email. Like, what? Okay, TikTok, how did nobody say TikTok? What? And then community, which is here again, community. All right, so put the points and the next round. All right, who's up? Come on up. Tails. All right, so name a service you might sell alongside of a website. Oh my goodness. It is on there. I just don't know which one it is. Oh, okay. My key card has the wrong key on it. So, okay, nice. SEO, and that's the top one. So you guys gonna play or you gonna pass? All right, so name something you might sell alongside of a website. No. Yeah. No, you're wrong. But the survey does not say. Okay, next one. Google Ads, I think. SEO, marketing. That could be marketing, right? We'll call it marketing. That's pretty broad, but we'll call it marketing. Okay. Illustrations, design. Okay. Yep. Nailed it. Product, he says. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, the question is, name something you might sell alongside of a website. Okay, you guys ready for a steal? No. It's not on the list. So the points go to team 2, and it was maintenance and custom development. Okay, there's one question left, and this is the doozy. So we got the points of the team. Next round. All right, come on up. Who's my Mason and who's... All right, Mason, call it. It is heads. Okay, let's reset the score. Name something you never want to discuss with the client. Okay, that's it. That's it. Okay. Yeah. Try again. Joseph. Name something you never want to discuss with a client. Well, there's 5 on the list. No, none of you. Okay, yeah, actually, money, right? Money/margin. Okay. So you guys gonna play or you want to pass? There is, I don't even know if you got a chance to win here. 196 might be a shutout. Yeah, your team won. Gonna play? Might as well go out burning if you like. What are you gonna do? You gonna go out like chumps? You better play. Okay. Name something you never want to discuss with the client. Last chance. Bum, bum, bum.
Let's say maybe like relationship or personal life manners.
Boom. Good answer. Good answer. Let's give it up. Okay. Okay. Okay, there's one more. There's one more. So close, but it doesn't. Steal?
Religion.
No. No, the other answer was other developers. Right, you want to be talking about your competition while you're trying to close the deal with the client? Okay, what's that? Who gets? Yeah.
In round 2, they got all the points, even for the answers that didn't come up.
Oh, but we're gonna have to watch the replay. Okay, well, I don't think we can figure that out right now. But yeah. All right, well, that's uneventful, because you're right. There is a technicality in there where I think we threw a couple extra points in there. I'm going to go back and watch the replay, and we'll figure it out. Thank you guys all so much. Thank you all so much. Yeah, thank you. Kareem, can we come off my screen? Can we go to the slides? Nice. Okay, great. So with that, we're going to do one final thing. Oh, if you guys have your Bing flow cards, does anybody have them filled out? Fully filled out? I'm going to leave this up here. If you guys get your cards filled out, just come and I'll put them over here, actually, so you don't get in the way. This box right here, put your bingo cards. And where's it at? I was going to say, oh, this box right here is tips for the band, okay? My mom is trying to call me. Should I answer my mom's phone call right now? She literally. What's that? Icon there? Hang on, I don't know what's happening right now. Oh, yeah, okay. Vlad is watching. So since he's watching, since you was up, let's mute the site. And Kareem, get ready to come to my screen here. As soon as I can find this file. I probably had it set up in like a real prominent spot to be ready for this, huh? State of flow. Day of production files.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited for State of Flow. It's kicking off today. Hello from sunny California. You're probably seeing much more sunny Florida or wherever you might be watching this from. I am so very jealous that I can't join you all in person. The agenda over the next few days for State of Flow looks absolutely amazing and sounds like an absolute blast. When I think about pretty much exactly 10 years ago when I saw Brett Victor's Inventing on Principle talk, which by the way, highly recommended, about the power of direct manipulation, I never imagined that Webflow would get to this point where such a vibrant community of builders and creators are getting together to share techniques and advice and to dream about and talk about getting into the flow and about the future of work. And I just want you all to remember that as you dive into these things, just remember that you are defining that future. You are the pioneers who will inspire many others to build for the web by your example. You're learning and growing, and you can inspire others to learn and grow. And I so believe that the future has so many more developers, so many more people building for the web. And that line between what you can do in code, what you can do visually, what you can develop declaratively is just going to blur and go away entirely, because the only thing that matters is what you're creating and the power of that, of what you're bringing to the web. And one of the most crucial parts about developing complex things, whether it's for the web or otherwise, is not just the technology. I know a lot of conversations are about Webflow or the tools, but it's really the community. It's all of you. It's what you're doing right now. Because so much of changing how we work, how we build is not just inventing new tools and like learning how to leverage them. It's in how we work better individually when we're freelancing or working solo, how we're working better together, whether with partners or with clients, how we help each other learn and grow, to inspire each other to try new ways of doing things. And when I look at who's involved in this entire event, or get together, retreat, whatever you're calling it. I mean, from Flow Party to Edgar Allan to Reloom to FinSuite, Flow Pros, Unfold, Flow Ninja. I'm like so many flows that must be mixing some up already. It's like the who's who of the Webflow community and the visual development community. So just a massive thank you to also just the Florida crew who's organizing this, from Rymar to Colleen, Melissa, Johnny, Jesse, Marseille. You all have done a fantastic job, and thank you so much for pulling this together. By the way, whoever is in charge of puns, you have done an amazing job, from like Webfloat to BingFlow. I think, welcome to Florida. Although I gotta say, there's a missed opportunity to call the Webflow Pizza Party SliceFlow. I'm sure you can still update your website pretty quickly if you vote on that and decide to change it. Just kidding. Again, I'm super bummed that I can't be there in person, but I'm so excited about the few days that you're about to spend together, or for folks who are dialing in remotely to be part of the action. Just wish you an amazing next few days as you get into the state of flow. Take care, everyone.
right, what's up, everybody? Hello, Vlad. Can we give it up for Vlad? Hello. Thank you for building this product, I don't know, however many years ago, and making all our lives what it is, and leading us to this road. One more round of applause for all of you for showing up today. And shout out to everyone watching online. We're going to try to bring some of those questions in as we go, so feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. I wanted to talk a little bit about the feel of this event and what we're trying to do and why this thing's called State of Flow. And so let you know in the motto for the whole weekend, right? It's go with the flow. Some of you guys maybe have heard us talking about this. Planning a big event, planning anything. I was talking to Jonas last night and talking about like programming computers is easy, right? Because computers do exactly what you tell them to do. Programming people is incredibly hard because people do whatever the fuck they want, right? And so trying to do events in the real world that require you all to come out of your house and put some clothes on and pay to fly somewhere and come and get a hotel, like that's big investment. So again, shout out and thank you to all of you. We're excited to be the ones putting this on. A little bit of structured chaos, I guess what you're gonna see tonight. We live in a world where most of the work we do revolves around, being remote, right? Like we live in a world where it's remote. All of our work is digital. So we wanted to do something where we bring people in. So thank you for our sponsors and attendees. Thank you to everyone who's on this board. Shout out to Webflow, they're our keynote sponsor. FinSuite, for sure, always supporting the community. Reloom, standing out in this community. Josh Lowe, what's up? Unfold, the conversation we're gonna have tomorrow about the state of web design is super special. If you don't know who Unfold is, I recommend you pull out your phone and Google those folks. They do some of the most amazing design work in the world, and they're right here in Sarasota, and we're gonna talk all about the state of web design tomorrow with Michael Yankee, John Eicher, Melissa Mendez, and Johnny Gomez in the corner, who is a staff designer at Webflow, also one of the most talented designers in the space right now. Flow Pros, Jason Tinnen in the house, thank you so much. Edgar Allen, Ammo Agency, Flow Party, obviously Melissa's gonna join me here on stage in just a second. Friends is in the house, Wiz is in the house, and Flow Ninjas. Shout out to Urosh, I think they're watching. Emily Giordano's in the house as well, out there in Serbia. So this is the beginning of this community really standing up on its own, right? When a community like this starts to have events like this in person that are not necessarily hosted by the organization, that's a big moment for the community because that means there's enough people willing to make that investment, both on the individual level as well as on the corporate level, to come out here and fund this stuff, right? And so this is a big moment for this community, not just because I'm here or we organize this, but because you all are here and it's really a signal of what's happening in the Webflow space. So again, I want to talk a little bit about how we got here because it was almost exactly 3 years ago that I hosted my first WordPress versus Webflow debate. And we had Nelson Abalos fly out. We thought it was going to be like an in-person or an online stream. He's like, no, I'm flying out. Colleen Brady was the first time she came to one of the meetups, and so that's the first time we met, and from there we started organizing all sorts of events, some of the biggest events in the Webflow space over the last few years. So Clone Comp, last year we gave away $25,000 for 2 years in a row as the biggest Webflow hackathon in the space. We did the Global Open House, many of you have been to that, and this is really just a build off of that. We've helped launch a number of other communities in the space. Last year, obviously, 2 years, I was working with FinSuite, helped launch one of the largest professional Webflow communities on the planet. Shout out to FinSuite and everything they're doing with the community. And now this, State of Flow. We're here in person doing the thing. So one of the things that we heard a lot of as we were prepping for this was about what it means to be in person. We were asking about expectations. And this event is going to be way different than any conference you've ever been to. Maybe you've already seen that, right? So far. It's going to be very casual. It's going to be very loose. Like, we're going to organize the content tomorrow, and tomorrow, it's going to be a lot of, again, structured chaos. But a lot of the work we do means sitting at home alone. And when we were talking to folks, you're working with that screen. Even the online events, like these big online events that we do, the hangover that comes after them, when you turn off the screen and then it's just you, right? And so much of the work that we do is by ourselves. And so doing things like this in this general community is just a big moment for us to really find connections, right? The relationships that we build in these spaces are the ones that lead. Like, I promise you, somebody's gonna meet in this space this weekend, and in a year they're gonna start a business together, and in 2 years they're gonna be making more money than they know what to do with, and it's gonna be amazing. And you're gonna watch stories like that evolve all throughout this space, right? And the dedication it takes to do something special is something else, because we all know how hard it is to learn this tool, to learn something technical, to learn something that requires you to give yourself fully to it. And whatever you do in the creative process requires that of you, right? If you want to be dedicated to anything, they talk about the 10,000 hours to be a pro, but I think it's more than that, right? It's not just spending the time. It's spending the right kind of time, It's being self-aware to understand if the work you're doing is actually effective at reaching the goals you're trying to reach. And that takes a lot of mental energy, right? A lot of people like kind of look, what do you do? I don't know. Literally, my mom just called. She still doesn't know what I do. And to have that conversation, right? Like, what is that? So we have to find ways to channel that creativity. We have to find outlets for all of that, and I think that's what this is. And I want to talk a little bit about the science of flow. So I'm going to go through, there's 7 conditions of flow, right? So there's 7 things that kind of like must be present for you to call yourself in the flow, right? So we're talking about the science of flow now. We're going to talk about the 7 conditions of flow, and we're going to talk the 5 factors of intrinsic motivation. So first thing, when you're in the flow, you're completely involved. And how many people can relate? When you get into Webflow, when you get into design work, when you get into some kind of build process, you are just in, right? Somebody distracts you, it like totally knocks you out of the groove, whatever, you're just fully committed. The other thing is there's a sense of ecstasy. So you're almost like a sense of being outside of your reality, right? The word ecstasy is an old Greek word for being outside of yourself. And so when we're in the flow, we often feel like we're outside of this moment, right? We're kind of watching the thing happen, things happen in slow motion. There's a great sense of inner clarity. Right? You can make decisions, you can kind of see what's happening. You know that the activity that you're doing is doable. So when you're in a state of flow, you know, hey, this is something I can do, and I know that my skills are adequate enough to do this job. And that's an important thing, right? Because, again, that goes back to the self-awareness. A lot of people want to try something, they want to see where some of the companies are in this space, and they think, oh, I can go out and I can be there tomorrow. No, right? There's no such thing as overnight success. There's just a lot of work that sometimes leads to wherever it is that you're going. And you don't know what that journey looks like, but when you're in the flow, you can kind of push that stuff forward. So number 5, there's a sense of serenity, right? So you're not worried about yourself in that moment. You know, they're beyond your ego, beyond yourself. You're working towards something that's a little bigger, which goes into timeliness, right? So the 6th factor is timeliness. 7, thoroughly focused in the present, right? So the hours seem to pass like minutes. You know, so you're working on a project, next thing you look up, it's 2 in the morning. You started at 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. or whatever it is. And then there's the intrinsic motivation. And the intrinsic motivation is really, I think, what drives this. And the next is the 5 steps of intrinsic motivation. So the intrinsic motivation is whatever you do to get into the flow becomes its own reward, right? And that's the biggest piece of this, because if you're trying to just do a thing because you're out there trying to make the money, okay, maybe you'll make the money. But if you're doing a thing because the thing just drives you, and it just becomes this thing that like grabs a hold of you and you just can't let it go, you can't shake what you want to do, that's what it comes, right? And so like doing the thing becomes enough. And hopefully, for the first time ever, like we're in an era where like you can make money online doing that. Video games, design, no code, right? Visual software development, building websites. You know, like how many people in here are making a 6-figure income building websites, freelancing? Okay, so tying into those intrinsic factors of motivation, there's 5 of them, and they work in sequence, and they stack on top of each other. So it starts out with curiosity. This is how you get into the flow. This is how the process of getting into the flow. So the 7 factors were like what's required to like be in the flow, or how you could define being in a flow state. These are the 5 things that kind of lead you to that. So the first is curiosity, and curiosity opens the door. And curiosity is a really interesting feature because curiosity allows you to pay attention to something without a lot of like output, right? If something's boring or you don't like it, it costs you a lot of energy to focus on it or to pay attention to that thing. But if you're curious about it, it just sucks you in, right? And so it leads to some of those other things. But there's one step further than curiosity, because once you get curious about something, you maybe become passionate about it, because once you study it and you focus all that attention, now you can't like, you become infatuated, right? Think about like when you fall in love, or when you like see a car that you like thinking about buying, right? And all of a sudden now you see it everywhere on the road, right? So as you become passionate about it, you start seeing things. You start having the ability to like pay attention to that thing without expending a lot of caloric resources in the brain. And ideally, that will lead you to purpose, right? And so that purpose then becomes something that pushes you forward beyond the intrinsic motivation. Now this is something like, hey, I can do this, right? And it may feel a little altruistic, but the truth is that that purpose is what scratches your itch, and it's actually really selfish, right? Like when you are dedicated to purpose and you're like, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna accomplish this thing because I wanna help people. Okay, but really, at the end of it, you're getting something from helping people, and so deep down, there is a little bit of that selfishness that comes from that purpose, which leads to then autonomy. Because once you have enough passion about something to find the purpose about something, then what you want to do is, I want the autonomy to do this all the time, right? So I want the freedom, I want the flexibility, I want the financial security to be able to do this on my own terms. That's what leads you into freelancing. That's what leads you to start a business. That's what leads you to start the side hustle. And that's the coolest thing, because then it leads to mastery, right? Once you find that autonomy, Once you figure out, okay, I was creative about something, I found my passion, it led me to purpose, here I am with autonomy. Now I want to master this. I want to become the best possible thing at this. And those are the things, that's what comes from flow, right? That's what we're trying to find in this space. That's what makes you successful in any one of these creative tasks. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. So what I would like to do, and I'd like to focus on a couple things, because we're going to shift this into a conversation now. I want to talk a little bit about how we can start to work together to harness this creative energy, right? Because we're all doing really good on our own, right? Everybody here is successful in their own right, in some way or another. They made it here for whatever reason. But how do we start tagging up? How do we start teaming up? How do we start working together to kind of amplify that? And how do we tap into that endless curiosity of this creative spirit to push the next things forward? How can you start finding those 5 steps of intrinsic motivation as groups, right? Because there's such thing as a group flow. You can find your individual flow, and that's cool for you, but what happens when, as a team, you start doing amazing things, and we see this in the space? Look at what small teams are doing, right? Again, Reloom. 2 guys came out of nowhere. Now they're, knocking it out of the park. FinSuite, Wiz. Where's Flow Pros? Where's Jason? Jason, how big's your team? 3 people. I won't tell you what they're going to do this year, but he told me the other day. Like, you wouldn't believe it with 3 people. So there's team flows. There's things you can do to get into a group flow. So how can we do that as a community here, right? So as you pull your letter to yourself, in your swag bags, there's a letter to yourself that we're going to work on. Think about the goals. Like, set some of the goals about not only what can you do for yourself and your career in the next year, but what can you do to tap into this resource that's all around you? Because this creative energy is infectious, and when you start putting this together, like, who knows where this is going to go in the next couple years? 2, how do we build on the passion which drives the Webflow community? So going back to those intrinsic motivators, right? So there's one thing to be a freelancer, but this Webflow community is something else. Melissa, we're going to talk about Flow Party and the momentum of like building this group. So like, what is the purpose of these things that we're doing? This is what I hope to define through part of this weekend. That's what I hope you want to define through this weekend. How do you find your state of flow? I want you to keep those 7, keys to flow and the 5 factors of motivation in your head throughout the weekend. And I want you to think about, how does this tool provide us the autonomy to accomplish our goals? And again, how can we start working together, not just for ourselves, but to help other people find this tool? Because there's something interesting that's happening in this space too, that once you figure out this skill for yourself, you want to bring other people to it. And this is what's growing exponentially. This is why it's growing exponentially. So we're going to open this up to a fireside chat. Melissa, you want to come up? You want to grab a mic? I need 2 other people. I need 2 people who think they're in a flow. You had no idea this was going to happen. You're going to be part of this conversation today. Who wants to come up on the stage? Raise your hand. Come on. Joe will get you next. Dan. We're going to recycle through some folks. It's not just going to be the few. Come on. Grab a seat. Grab a mic. And this is where the structured chaos comes in, because I have no idea what's going on. None of this is scheduled, by the way. I'm like David Blaine out here. You're walking tightrope. Okay, this is what we're going to talk. Actually, one more. We got one more? We got a female that wants to come up? Female? All right.
Yeah.
I used to have long hair.
Okay, so here's where we want to start. The fireside chat, we're going to talk about productivity in the modern world. So what does it mean to be productive in this world today? Because it's definitely not selling your time for hours to somebody else. How do we prepare for the future of work, right? How can somebody watching this at home today take away knowledge from the folks that are here making their living on the internet? And how can we prepare for the future of work? And how can we help other people prepare for the future of work? So these are questions that we're going to run through. And how can we work together to empower others to learn and grow as we inspire the next generation of people who come behind us? So let's start. Dustin, introduce yourself real quick.
Hey everybody, I'm Dustin.
Check. Dustin?
I'm Dustin.
Dustin, where are you from?
I'm from Worcester, Mass.
Worcester, Mass. Everybody knows Melissa. Melissa, say hi.
Hi.
Where are you from, Melissa?
Colombia.
Colombia, pero vives aquí en Orlando, ¿verdad?
Yes.
Okay. Dan, what's up?
So my name's Dan Dawson. I live in Neptune Beach, Florida. So Jacksonville, if you know Florida.
And
There you
Yannick,
go.
where are you from, buddy?
And just recently moved to Denver, so I guess I'm a Coloradan now.
They didn't know there was going to be their time to talk. So what, Melissa, talk to me a little bit about, because you've been on the flow, you've been in the flow recently, building the Flow Party. So where's that come from? What was your inspiration to get started in this community, and why, like, just talk a little bit about how you get, I guess, in the flow for the stuff that you're working on, because you're building an agency, Eureka's growing, you're building a community. Talk to a little bit about, like, you finding your flow as it relates to getting in the groove with the work you're doing right now?
Yeah. I think that for me, it's really being honest with myself and not just going to go. Like, it's really finding a purpose. So, not only for my community, the Flow Party, but also for Eureka. I do the Flow Party because I just love hanging out with the community. So, as the community asks, I perform. As my agency asks, I perform. So it really is just purpose. And that's really what keeps you going, and that's what keeps you in the flow.
How did you get into any of that though? Like, how do you decide one day, like, I'm just gonna start throwing these parties?
Because of Georgiana. She is a girl in Romania that needed help, and I said, maybe more people need this. And I just tweeted about it, and people resonated with it. So it was just trying to help someone, and it just grew from there naturally.
Yeah. Dan, tell me about your process getting in the flow.
Yeah, I think that the first thing that everybody needs to start thinking about is, what are you trying to achieve? How can you measure that? How can you put something really quantitative down, something that's going to have actually a value that you can come back to? And that goes for any project, whether it's a paid project, whether it's a personal project. If you can start thinking about what's this objective, put that down, start thinking about how can you measure it. It may not be intuitive to begin with. You may have to kind of dive through that process and figure out what those metrics might be down the line. But if you can start putting that on paper, not only does that help you, validate whether or not the time you spent was actually worth what you spent, it helps you actually create kind of a story. And I think that's the thing that resonates with most people. They want to hear a story. They want to understand what is it that drives you to do whatever it was that you did. And they also want to know why it was valuable. So again, going back, starting with, what are these success metrics? I know that sounds like something that's very kind of like SEO or ad driven or even just like marketing driven, but you can do that in most things in your life. So if you start getting into that practice, that's going to help you be able to do all the other things you need to do. Set your time right. Determine what the most valuable kind of next project is. Who you should spend your time with. I mean, start thinking in that way, and it's going to make you happy. You're going to feel really good about the decisions you're making.
Nice. Yeah. Tell me, first of all, I want to point something out. There's no titles on the cards for a reason, by the way. I'm not interested in what your title is, right? So I think everybody in here has probably got some good ideas. So you'll notice just as we go through, no cloud chasing here. So yeah. Tell me about how you get in the flow. What's your process? What do you like to do before you kind of start thinking about being productive?
Yeah, I think one thing that's helped me a lot is Nir Eyal he wrote a book, I forget the title of his book, but he spoke on one of the accelerator programs that I was on a few years ago, and he's really big on time blocking your calendar. So for the next 2 hours, I'm only going to work on X. And the one thing that's helped me really kind of get into that state is he does everything outcome-based, and Dan just mentioned that as well. So in this world today, we all have huge to-do lists that are constantly growing, and sometimes at the end of the day, it can feel like you didn't really get anything done because maybe you had 15 things on your to-do list, and you only knocked off 2 of those things, and now you got 13, but 5 more came up, so tomorrow you have 18. So what he does, and what I try to constantly remind myself of is, when you sit down to work on something, set a specific time of how long you're going to work on that thing. And at the end of it, it doesn't matter if it's done or if you can cross it off your to-do list. The only thing that matters is, did I do what I was going to do for as long as I said I was going to do it? And if you did that, then you were successful. And you can then leverage that success to roll into the next thing and to roll into the next thing. And instead of beating yourself up because your to-do list didn't get done, you're patting yourself on the back because you did exactly what you said you were going to do.
Okay, I like that. Dustin, tell me a little bit about your creative process and how you get in the flow.
I think it comes down to why. I looked up a lot of tips for a long time. 40 hertz, certain kind of sounds and then 90 minutes of brown noise. And there's a lot of tips out there and blog posts. But I think it's going to be specific to each person. I think it's going to be specific to why are they doing what they're doing. And that may change over time,
So how does somebody find that? If it's specific to each person, how did you find yours, or how would they find theirs?
I'd say start by being self-aware of like what are you motivated by right now. I was growing a company for some other guys for a while, and my motivator was always like, I don't want to F up. I don't want them to be disappointed in me. I want them to really appreciate the work I was doing. And then that always motivated me to leave and go out on my own and do my own thing. And then when I started doing my own thing, I realized that motivator wasn't there anymore. I wasn't doing this for the admiration of some bosses. So I had to redefine what my why was, what was going to motivate me. But staying self-aware of it and noticing that there was a change in that allowed me to kind of self-reflect and figure some new things out.
Does anybody in the crowd have any thoughts as it relates to this that they want to jump in and share, or like ask the next question?
Raymar, can I just add one thing to that?
Yeah, of course.
I think one thing is that we, especially in the design space, in the creative space, we tend to glorify this flow state idea, and we think that it's the only way to get things done, and if I'm not feeling it, then I'm not going to work on stuff. One of my favorite quotes is, inspirations for amateurs, pros go after it or waiting around for inspirations for amateurs, pros go after it with a bat. And I think that that's kind of what you have to do. When you're new to this kind of stuff, everything is new and everything's exciting and it's super easy to get into flow state. If you've been doing this for a very long time, it's not glorious, it's not beautiful. Sometimes it's just tough, hard, nitty-gritty work. And one thing that's helped me is super simple trick is you set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes. You say, whatever it is that I'm working on, I'm just going to work on this for 5 minutes. Most of the time, when you get to the end of the 5 minutes, you're just going to keep rolling through. But the initial kind of getting yourself going, just getting that momentum started is the hardest freaking thing because you're sitting there, you're scrolling through Twitter, you're telling yourself you're going to get going, but you're not. Then you're beating yourself up, and it just gets harder and harder and harder. And sometimes all you got to do is just take that first step and just let everything else come afterwards.
Melissa, I want to ask you, follow up on that. Because it's very draining to be emotionally supportive the way you are for a lot of people. How do you get back into that? Like when you're finding that moment where you're just like, oh, I'm over this, whatever, where do you find the energy or the mental strength to just say like, okay, we're gonna do this again today?
I think that it's just stepping away for a second and enjoying other things, So like if you like, I don't know, going out to have dinner or exercising, but just stepping out because that really gives you perspective and makes you appreciate the things that you have. You have to be very mindful and grateful of the things that come to you. So you can't just be a person that receives something and just wants to throw it out. So I think being mindful of that and knowing when you have to step out so you can come back feeling even more appreciative of what you have is super important.
I'm gonna send this back to the crowd. Does anybody in the seats have something they wanna
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think that's perfect. Like mindset to me, I think is everything when it comes to flow state because, mind state I think is everything when it comes to flow state because, you have to be in that mindset of, I'm going to accomplish this, I'm going to do this, and like you said, set a marker, a time, like this is how much hours I have and commit to that. But flow state is very more mindset, I almost feel, if that makes sense. It's like you have to keep that, that positive mindset. You're going to accomplish this, to continue on, and when you lock into that flow state, because it's nothing but joy, and it's not about the numbers or the money. At that point, you're just in that flow state of the journey. The journey is the success, if that makes sense, getting through that.
Yeah. And I actually think the number one thing to achieve goals is consistency. And that is the hardest thing for everybody. Like I always see in the space, people that come with all the energy, and then 2 weeks pass and they drop it. It's just so common. Everybody has that. And that's why it's so important to have purpose, because without purpose, you will just drop it, right? But if there's that passion behind, like you can't really stop doing it, it's just so natural to you, you will continue to be constant, you know?
Yeah, to build on that and kind of combine what Yannick was talking about, you know, having the purpose to get up and know I'm going to put in a 90-minute block today, and whatever happens, happens. And over time, you're going to have good days and bad days, but as long as you're consistently putting in the time, it works out.
Exactly. And knowing when to stop for a second, you know? Think, okay, I need a break, you know, I'm burning out. I recognize it. I've had it, you know? And it's just stopping and then continuing.
Yeah, and I think it's realizing that we all overestimate what we can do in a day, and we all underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And being able to play the long game and being able to understand it doesn't need to happen tomorrow. I know we're all on social, I know we're all on Twitter, and it always feels like everybody else around you is crushing it and is doing the next big thing, and you feel like you got to keep up with all that stuff, right? So I think it's also understanding that commit to your purpose and commit to it on a very long timeline and just stay consistent within that timeline. And I think the last thing to what you were saying too is you have to also take care of yourself at the end of the day. And I think it's the whole oxygen mask analogy on a plane. You got to put it on yourself first before you put it on anybody else. And you know, sometimes we tend to forget that, but if you burn out, if you're at the end of it, that's the end of the dream. That's the end of everything right there. So being able to understand that, being able to be mindful, if you're not feeling it that day, we're all humans. We're all ebb and flow. Raymond was talking about the full moon today. You know, it all kind of plays into that kind of stuff too. There's days where you're feeling it, go after it hard. There's days where you're not feeling it, take a rest, but don't let yourself off the hook easy just because you didn't sleep well last night or whatever it is. So it's really trying to find that balance in between those things.
Mama said there'd be days like this, there'd be days like this, my mama said. Okay,
But you know what?
Structure chaos, hold up, structure chaos. 1, 2, 3, goodbye. Melissa, stay. Put the mic down on the chair. Who's next? Raise your hand if you're trying. Come on up. Come on up. Bailey? Come on. Come on up. She's putting... Okay, actually, I want you. Yeah, come on. Okay, there we go. And Melissa stays because she helps me organize, so she gets the chair all night if she wants. Okay, so we're going to open this up, but we're going to carry on in the conversation. So, Carrie, what are you thinking as you sit up? Why you raise your hand? Why do you want to be up here?
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking when the last group was talking was the consistency part, that's really challenging. And one of the things that I found when I'm having days where it's a struggle to keep wanting to do something or keep going, is focusing on the nuance is just as good as new, because and I think it actually becomes better over time. So that's one of the things when I'm having a real hard day, I try and focus on okay, well this may be difficult and it may be something I'm learning, but it's or it's something I've worked on 100 times, but I'm gonna focus on the nuance here and make sure that I get those things right, because it can be as exciting as new if you just get your mind in the right space. And I feel like a lot of the success comes from getting your mind in the right space so you can do those things. So that's part of flow.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I definitely find the most satisfying part of the journey is the small incremental improvements you make, and then just seeing those build over time. You know, even if it's only 1% every week. You know, over the course of years, you see things transform, and the way you work, and the impact you can have is exponential ultimately. So, yeah, I think tapping into that sense of progress, even when it's on the micro level, is really key.
Yeah, and I think that's that's something we in this space understand, because you know what it's like if you're a developer or if you build something digital to put something up and you're like, oh shit, I don't really like it, but whatever, send it. And then maybe the next day you come back and work on a little bit more, and then you work on a little bit more, and then you build another page, and then you do a little thing, and like you said, a year later, you have this beautiful website. And I remember when I started blogging at a little WordPress site, people would come to me, I want a site like yours. I'm like, yeah, I bet you do. I spent 3 years building the content on that site, right? And you can't even figure out how to give me enough content for a homepage. So let's talk about that incremental progress and understanding that agile process and the benefits of just small gains here and there. Bailey, I think you understand this, so.
100%. So especially in project management, we want to keep the motivation going. And if you have a super long project that maybe take you 5-6 weeks to build, seems really large at the beginning. But I think it's the small wins that keep everybody going on the team, especially. And so in our Asana, we'll break down each single page we're building, even components on specific pages that we're building, and ticking those off and seeing the progress go. It's those small wins that keep the motivation going, that keep the team happy and feel like everything's moving forward. Because without that, you're like, where are we at with this project? Things slow down, and people don't get motivated. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Questions? Thoughts from the crowd? No? Innovate. What's up, Daniel? What do you guys say?
Hey, what's up, everybody? So I was actually at the 2019 No Code Conf with Rymar. We came all the way out to San Francisco, so it's great to see some familiar faces. What I gotta say is, what Webflow does really well is it abstracts away all of the complexity of code and it allows people like you and me to design for a more broad audience. So that's the same advice I have to all the creators. How do you take all the complexities of your life, the things that you do, the ways that you make money, and just make it a little simpler for everybody else to interface with you? So I think that's like the main piece of value I could give all of you.
Does anybody want to take a swing at that? Right, so Webflow abstracts the complexity of writing code, but maybe does anybody here as a creative abstract that creative process, the design process, simplify the creation of anything on the panel? First shot, Melissa, designer, art?
I think it's like the idea that process is freeing. Ironically, by like locking yourself into processes, you free up a lot of mental space. Whether it's through just not having the load of having to think something through each time, or through like being able to delegate and collaborate more effectively. So yeah, that's how I relate to it.
Can I add this actually? So literally last week we were talking about this, specifically with project management and how we break down the conceptualizing process, the design process, and the development process. We had things very rigid with set days. We have X amount of days for design, X amount of days for development, and we had these KPIs to be able to, but then we realized design is super creative and you can't really structure that. And when you structure that, you're limiting yourself on the creativity of that. Then again, you have to be careful with scope creep and budget, like how many days can we actually work on this design project? But we were saying like 2 days of design, then QA, another 2 days, then QA, then maybe 3 days, then QA. And now we literally just changed this where we have 2 weeks or a week and a half for design and QA is whenever. Like I want it to be like you come up, like if you're in an office situation, you come up to that desk and to someone else and you say, what do you think of this thing I'm building? And we're kind of trying to foster that in a remote environment where you just Slack someone and say, what do you think of this? And we QA on the fly. So the TLDR is don't set days saying this has to be QA'd by this day, just constantly QA, constantly provide feedback and constantly iterate. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, in Eureka, what we've been doing is just having feedback all the time. So we start in small batches. So a mood board, we go through it. Concept, we go through it. So it's a feedback loop all the time, and then that way we can keep it tight, and we can iterate if it's needed fast.
Yeah. Is there something to be said about, because I want to ask a question, and maybe this general audience can answer this, because is there something to be said about the time of that cycle? Because it seems to me like there's got to be a balance between like the quick iteration and like we're always and maybe changing a lot of direction versus like taking a week or two to really like perfect it and make it nice and like. So what do you think as a designer? And I'm going to pass it back to you because I want to shoot this right back to you. We'll let whoever wants to answer that and we'll go here because this is an interesting question to me. Is like, is there a benefit to a short iteration cycle or a longer iteration cycle, or does it matter on the project, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that as long as you have something that is semi-finished, where you can expand of it, you could really go that route. It doesn't really have to do like you choose a typography and then you show feedback, not so small. But at least so you can give some sort of shape to it, so you can really picture what that could be. That's where the feedback comes in. So then that way you can really continue and expand on that.
So you're saying that your metric for when you want to go to receive feedback should be something that's like a well-formulated idea.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Because then you're asking for micromanagement the other way maybe.
Exactly.
But what happens if you go longer than that? So Carrie, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I have a strategy that for the designers that I manage that I've used for years, which is whenever we have, and hopefully we have time frames where we're a little bit ahead of dev and we have space. But one of the things that I've used is we'll have what I call fast hours, where you take anything that you're working on design and we'll do an hour, and you're only allowed to work on that one thing that you've chosen, and you have to keep just solving whatever problem or whatever design issue you have on that same thing over and over and over again in 1 hour. And then, obviously, you can come back to it later, but I feel like the best ideas for design happen in two places, for me specifically, in those fast hours and on dog walks, in the shower, outside of those things. And so I feel like that lets us be able to manage getting progress to happen quickly, and then we can still iterate over the next week to get the details just right.
Have we lost? Okay, I want to ask a question about this because you said something like about the fast hour and solving over and over. And I remember in design school, like you couldn't show up with we would present our work, and you couldn't show up unless you had like 40 pages of sketches, right? Like, and it was an automotive design program, and so the idea was like every week you had to design some kind of concept car, and they gave you like, okay, today it's a truck, or it's going to be some mechanical type vehicle, or it's going to be this or that or the other, whatever it is. And so like every week you had to like take that design brief and you had to bring like 2 or 3 rendered products. But the rendered products were almost never the end result. What the instructor always wanted to see was the 40 pages of sketches. And if you didn't do that work, you just forget about the grade. Like you could have the most beautiful renderings at the end. But if you didn't show that process in that sketch, and have we lost that a little bit? Because I see, I was talking to somebody about a logo the other day, and they sent back like 3 sketches. Like 3 versions. Like, here's your 3 choices. Like, wait. I want to see a page of 100 choices, and then I want to like circle a couple of those, and then I want to see 3 versions of each of those, or something like that, right? Like, so have we lost that in a digital world, or where everyone's kind of like a production designer, or is there something there to be said? And that's like hand sketches. I still wireframe, and I don't do a lot of like digital work, but when I do, I almost always start with pen and paper anymore still. And is that just because I'm an old guy, I've been doing this for a long time? Or is it like, are we losing something? Is it just getting better? Are people getting faster? Are the tools getting better? Like, what is it? Any thoughts on that? Anybody in the crowd? Anybody thoughts on that? So none of y'all sketch, huh?
I think it's.
I would say it's kind of a balance because there are values to going through and doing 40 sketches, but I think there's also a value in your time and how much you're going to, on the bottom line, charge for something. So if you're looking to, build out an entire website with branding and everything involved in it, maybe it is more valuable to give the client 100 different logos. But I think it's that as you start to scale up and you have the ability to charge more for your services, I think it's not just money, but at the bottom line, how long did you take to do those 100 sketches? Or are you more valuable in maybe spending an hour and developing 3 really good ones? And it's polished versus, time.
Can I follow up on that? So do you think you could get the exact same level of exploration through? Because the purpose of the sketches is not to like spend a bunch of time on sketches. Right, the purpose on sketches is to throw every possible idea on the paper so you can be like, okay, here's every possible way I could draw this R or this whatever it is. And then let me start narrowing it down. And maybe if you don't do those 100 sketches, those 40 sketches, you only get to like 10 and you're like, oh, let's pick the best of these 10. But maybe there's like things that once you get tired of drawing R's, you're like, oh shit, how can I draw more R's? And you're like, oh, damn, that's a good one. So like that's what I wonder, right? Like, do you push yourself? And I don't know, maybe you do. Like, anybody else thoughts on that? Do you want to answer, reply?
Yeah, I think on my kind of the first part of, it's a little bit of a balance. I think it depends on, are you really inspired by this project that you've been given and your logo design, you can think of 100 different sketches, or is the client you're working for very niche and maybe you need to be a little bit more refined and on brand for what they're looking for, and maybe that is 10 sketches that you narrow down and give them 3 because what they're looking for is a lot narrower, but your creative process is going to be unique to yourself.
And you had some thoughts. So sure, that makes sense for a logo, but if we talk about websites, it's kind of a live service. And maybe it's a bad practice to say, we can change it later because you want your clients to commit to things, sure. But a logo, you're going to put it on a big screen and you're going to put it on a coin and you're going to print it out on name tags, so you want it to be iterated well beforehand. But there's no real point of no return for a website, honestly. You're going to say, I'm going to change this over the course of 3 years, like you said. So I work with websites more than I do logos, and I never sketch anything because I can just build it in Webflow in 5 minutes, and I can change it in 5 minutes.
I want to say something I think we need to give us designers more credit. And like we are either being hired or doing something for a reason. We are the experts here. And I see the value on working on 100 sketches, but it's our responsibility to filter that and to show the client those 2 or 3 and saying, this is what you should do. And usually, at least like when I started, it was like, I would almost like fall in love with one, do one that is like, I know that the client will not choose, and then do almost like a safe one and it's almost like guiding the client to choose the one that you want. And I feel like that is what you should do. You are the expert, you guide the client, because at the end of the day, the client doesn't really know exactly, and you are the one getting paid for that.
I want to actually go to Joe. Joe, I remember, I don't know if I'm sure you remember, you had a website that you would send to clients about like all the design feedback and how it like diminished the value of the work. So can you, first of all, explain a little more clearly what that thing was and why you guys created that at FinSuite?
Sure. We created a website that told our clients to not get in our way and to not give us too much feedback when they hire us to do design work. Every creative person that's micromanaged by a client is going to be unhappy in that project. No creative person wants to be told what to do by a non-creative person. Or really, any creative person doesn't want to be told to do anything from anybody, right? They want to do their creative thing. So we made this beautiful landing page hoping to communicate to our clients, hey, you hired us for a reason, we're expensive, shut up. In a nice way. Nobody really cared about that. We sent it to a few clients, did not really get the response that we thought we would. It was a little too sarcastic, and we kind of trashed it. But it's a beautifully done website. But yeah, it's really sad when clients come in and micromanage that. So Johnny, I really loved what you said about guiding them in the right direction, even if they don't really know they're being guided in the right direction. I do think it's our responsibility as creatives to make sure that we are delivering our best work, even if our clients fight us on that best work. Oh yeah. We dropped design and it was the best decision ever. Wow. It's really difficult, like I said, for a creative person to be told what to do. And we found that a lot of our best creatives were actually unhappy working in a lot of projects because they didn't actually get to put out their best work. And then when the project was done, they were embarrassed to show it. Like, don't even show this work of mine because it's not mine. It was the micromanaging clients. So once we dropped design, we found that all of our designers were happier. They were able to work on internal projects and really let their creativity loose. And we at FinSuite don't tell them what to do what you want. So it was a really big change for us, and it was the right move. Taking out that subjectivity of design and really focusing on the objective side of development. And I know I'm speaking in a room of designers, so I'm sure not everybody agrees with me, but I'm not a designer. So for me, this was a very natural and special decision.
I want to add something.
Yeah, jump in.
I think that as creatives, it's obviously our dream to get a client that says, do whatever you want. But that's rarely the situation. And usually, or in the best case scenario, you get a strategy. And then from that strategy, you have the tools to create your design. So I think that as designers, it's important to grab those tools and create that from that strategy. And then that way you don't have to create, 100 versions of something, but one version should communicate what the strategy is saying.
Here comes some structured chaos, y'all. Set change. It's time to swap up. We're going to go back to a little bit about productivity. So actually, I'm going to ask you one more. Any thoughts to follow up on just the design stuff, because we're about to shift gears completely. Thoughts on the design thing? Okay, bye. Go grab your seats. Okay, we're going to shift back to the productivity stuff, because tomorrow's all about design. So I feel like we're headed a lot about design here. We're gonna hear all about design tomorrow, but I wanna go back to productivity in the modern world. So who wants to talk about productivity? Who's like the most productive? Come on, who else? Come on. Oh, we need one more. Joe? Come on. Oh, Marseille, come on. Okay, productivity. First of all, who wants to define productivity for me? Anybody in the crowd?
Output.
Output. Say more.
Just work done.
So if I just like publish work. So if I go and like write a couple headlines on a Webflow site and I press publish 10 times in a row, I've been real productive because I output a lot of work. Anybody else, like, I'm not fighting with you. I think output is there, but I think there's more. Anybody, can we build on output?
The impact of that work that you outputted and also the time frame.
I like that. Okay, so it's output with some kind of check, right? There's some kind of impact to the output. Any other building on productivity? Did you have something?
Organization and structure.
Organization and structure probably helps you be productive, right? Does it define productivity? Can somebody like actually look up the legit definition of this so we can check everything we're saying to make sure it's like...
Productivity is different for everybody. It's all what you think it is. So it's creating an expectation for yourself and then meeting that expectation. So whatever that means for you, you can be productive or not productive by meeting your expectation.
Josh?
Yeah, it's the amount of work put out over a course of time. You gotta have that time metric in there.
So, okay, so it's like output with time. Did anybody Google, did anybody look it up on their phone? Can I get a Webster's definition of productivity? Crops?
The effectiveness of productive effort, especially in industry, as measured in terms of the rate of output, and I think this is the most important part, per unit of input.
Per unit of input, there it is. It's output, but there's something else. That's what I was looking for. It's like, what's the output?
What's the difference between productivity and efficiency, or how do they separate or come together?
Who wants to take that one? What's the difference between what? Productivity and efficiency? Somebody on the panel want to take it?
Productivity is getting shit done. Efficiency is doing it fast.
Right, because you can be organized and structured, right, and get nothing done. So being effective and efficient is completely different, and you can put a bunch of time into a bunch of things and still get nothing done. So therefore, it's like you have to be efficient with your productivity in your organization.
Yeah, I think I like what Joe said about it kind of being up to each person, right? Like you set your own. So I think if you set some goals and you accomplish those goals, you can maybe say you've been productive. But maybe if your goal was to not be productive, you could also be productive not being productive, right? So I think it goes down the line of what you're trying to set and those expectations. Anybody thoughts on that, Marseille?
Yeah, actually, and it has to do with setting up those goals at the very beginning that we were talking before. If we are strategic and we know where we want to go, so we know how we want to get, then when we look at the productivity and we look at the efficiency and we look at the units of measurement of time, that's where we begin to see the throughput, the output, the results. And it all boils down to being strategic, so you're productive, so you're effective.
Yeah. If I could just follow up on that, I think prioritization is a really important part of that, and that I think circles back to a lot of the conversations about your why. If you don't know what your why is, you don't know how to prioritize, if you don't prioritize, you might be super efficient, but you're not really being productive because what you're doing isn't important.
Yeah, and it's almost like statistics. So it's like your variability and your reliability. So it's like, what is it measuring and what is the outcome of that? So it's like you can put little to no amount of time into something and be very productive, and you can spend a lot of time on something and still be very productive. So it's taking what are you doing, your subjective, and what are we creating from it, and like measuring it, and it's what are we getting out of it? What is that measurement? And is it coming to a good outcome or a bad outcome?
So let's shape the question a little bit more. We define productivity, but the question is not about productivity, it's how to be productive in the modern world, because we're not changing tires. You know, we're not like doctors, we're not lawyers, we're not building plans for buildings, we're building digital products on the web. So, what does it mean to be productive, not just as a term productivity, but in a modern world, right? How do we tie what we've just talked about back to Webflow or digital work or whatever it is in a modern world? It doesn't have to be Webflow, just in a modern world, right? Like, so Marseille, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, recently one of our clients that we're working with, we had
hold the mic.
We had the opportunity to look into different situations where we delivered work in different stages, and sometimes the client was happy, sometimes the client was sad and not satisfied with the work. So we needed to actually think about what are we delivering, how is it looks like, and what type of stakeholder we're looking at. And once we knew this person is really caring about the structure of the design, the structure of the page, the typography, the copy, what was that key thing? That's where we found out the productivity, that's where we sliced the work strategically to get to that point. And I think that's where being productive in the modern world with the websites is not just being super fast or having the most perfect process. It's knowing how to apply this process into what this other person objective is. And tying that, then you have a full cycle of I iterate in this first thing first, move to the next step, move to the next step, until you have the product complete.
I think that's super important in now to be able to mold yourself to either clients or teammates. You have to be very aware of your surroundings and adapt based on that, for example, client. Because there will be clients that want to be very specific about things. So you really have to mold your company to provide that for them. That's what they need to feel that efficiency from you. There will be other clients that will be just more, lenient, and you don't have to give updates every week. So I think recognizing that and being agile while doing that is important right now.
Did we learn today while we were doing the Team Flow Challenge that like communication is probably the biggest part of being productive? And since we're not doing the face-to-face stuff anymore, right? Like how many of you meet with your clients face-to-face, like outside of Zoom? Like legit, they come to your office and you sit with them. Like raise your hand. Like raise it high. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. 6 people. How many people do almost everything virtually? Raise your hand. Right. So what does that mean? What does that mean? What's the difference between that? How do you take like somebody watching this, like we're all digital native, right? Everyone in this room, most people are making their money digitally at some point, but maybe somebody watching later on is not. Maybe somebody here is trying to make that transition to, hey, I'm looking in my local market, I'm trying to make websites for the local shop, the local this, the whatever, and they're trying to break out into that other space. Is there something that has to change in how you approach those communications, in how you approach the work, in how we have to be in this world right now to do that? Is there any thoughts about, and how to break into that? How do you like even make those transitions?
Honestly, I feel like now, because everything is digital, it's faster. That's why it's faster, because you can literally answer something in 3 minutes. So being agile is super important to close deals. For example, if you take 2 days to send a proposal, forget about it. They will go with somebody else. So being mindful of how fast you need to be in this space is really, really important.
Does anybody have thoughts on that? I know I have, just like on that specific, being fast.
I think, and not that I'm against you or want to say that that's wrong, but I think it's a very dangerous precedent. Imagine, let's say, 10 years ago, you saw something on Friday, somebody sent you an email, you won't see that until Monday. Today, everybody's connected, everything's connected. I'm getting like a Slack message right now, somebody comments on something, you're commenting in Asana on a task, and it's just like where do you cap productivity? It's kind of like a double-sided hatchet, Because you can be super productive, but then me personally, I feel like I burned out in my life multiple times because I was always going for efficiency and productivity. And then at the end of the day, it's like I'm leaving things aside in my life and I'm not caring about things just to be productive. In this world where everything is connected, where feedback is instant, and it's just where do we draw the line to and this is something I'm doing now, it's at a certain time, my computer is out, and that's it. I'm not working anymore, and that makes me a productive person in my family. I'm able to care, to cook, and I feel like I'm a better husband just because I'm setting my times right. And I think somebody said maybe like self-awareness and being mindful of like your limits and what you can do in order to like, like be the most productive general self, I think.
Well, I think that there's a limit, like obviously, and this is just, granular stuff, but if I get an email, I'm not gonna get up and run and answer it. I will give it 24 hours max, but I won't go over those 24 hours. Because I am mindful of that as well. Like if at 5 o'clock, I close my computer, that's it, forget about it, I won't answer. But I will be faster than the average.
Yeah, it's almost like qualitative versus quantitative. So you want quality over quantity. So I would rather, I will deny clients because they want something so quickly. And it's like, we're not, my team is not going to be able to provide what you want in amount of time. Yeah, we can, but it's going to be crappy quality. And so do you want quality over quantity? Because we would rather give you quality. So that's the difference. And so anybody who works with me, and I'm a yogi. That's what I do for my digital online creation. I'm an online yoga subscription, digital creator on Facebook and Instagram. So it's I would rather give you quality over quantity and have somebody who gives you that one video is going to get you 65,000 views over the 2,000 views because you gave them crappy videos or whatever it may be. And so, again, any of my clients know that if they're going to be working with me, you're going to get quality over quantity. And it may take some time to do that, but you're going to get better results from it.
I think a lot of that comes back to setting boundaries. We often prioritize productivity for productivity's sake. So, cool, I need to send more emails, I need to do more email marketing, I need to build more website pages. That's not necessarily the case. Sometimes in order to do your best work, you have to shut off and take a break. And so you can almost think of not being productive sometimes means that you will be productive in the future.
I'm the contrarian guy, so I'm just gonna be the opposite of everybody, because I'm a recovering workaholic. I love to work, I love to produce great things, but at the same time, as Johnny was saying, we burned out like crazy. But the moment that we give more than what we actually have in our physical body to give, we found ourselves putting out crappy work or delaying answers to clients and all of that. So through the years, what I discovered is that we need to look into our situational awareness. Sometimes the client needs that 24 hours response, needs that immediate fire, get your team here because this is our life or death situation, our contracts is up on risk, our event organizer needs something, and we need to actually come through, and I need my team to be able to come through. But at the same time, as boundaries we were talking before, right? It's this is an exception. This is not something that
you will pay more for it.
Yes, that's the thing.
Possible, yes.
Absolutely.
And you got to protect your time and your mental energy and all that. Marseille, I want to ask you a question to follow up. How do you create those channels, right? Because maybe you want to have a balance where you're okay, maybe I'll take a day or two or whatever, I'll answer on Monday. Or how do you know? How do you know that the client, it's not an emergency unless you see the email? Right? So are you looking at the email and then triaging and be okay, maybe I can get back to that, or maybe not? Or how do you set expectations with the client ahead of time? Do you how do you triage those communications?
So that's what I'm saying. I'm a little still a recovering workaholic. Every communication gets looked at by me, at least with
How
Slack,
fast?
with everything. Very fast, embarrassingly fast. Probably,
1 minute.
yeah, 1 minute and a half is too long.
But we're all like this, and so Melissa was saying earlier that she was going to wait, or after 5 she wouldn't. I said, mentirosa, I feel bad. I didn't mean to, because I didn't get to finish. In Spanish, I mean flyer. Because I text Melissa on Slack, and I know she responds super quick, and I got to imagine she's probably doing that with some other people too. So I want to talk about that balance, because I get it in certain instances. I'm a pro. Listen, sometimes I'll unplug, and I don't give a shit. I'll go, I just don't care, right? And then I know other people who every 5 minutes they're checking their emails, and sometimes I'll even see, there's emails there, but I'm not gonna read it because I know that's a booby trap and whatever. But maybe I know, hey, there's a big project or something that's coming up, and I need to really pay attention to that because of the deadline. So I guess anybody have thoughts about how to triage those communications or how to manage that?
I think it's about culture. So if you're a company of one or an agency, you are the culture, and you can decide which clients you don't want to work with. You can tell, this person sucks. They're not going to pay me what I want to be paid, and they're going to ask too much, and we're not a good fit. You can just say that. Yeah. We're not a good fit. But if you work for Marseille, maybe you're like, we're on it all the time, and we are workaholics, and that's who we are as a culture, and that's okay. People can do that. But if it's not a culture fit, whether it's a culture of one or however big your team is, you just need to recognize that.
I think it also comes down to like the communication, right? It all depends on how you communicate your business. So it's like in my invoices, the notes are in there. Like, this is what you're gonna get, this is what you're gonna have, it's in your proposal, we put it on the website, and then when you become a client, we're gonna communicate it from the very beginning. That way it's never a question. So it's always communicating how you're coming across and creating that culture. Because like, for instance, traveling, and you go to travel to different countries, it's not as fast as America. You don't have Wi-Fi like you do everywhere else. You have to be very stationary to get that Wi-Fi. So it's going to take time. But the more you communicate that to your clients and your community and just let them know where you're at in that moment, it opens up so many doors instead of being like, oh, I have, you know, so many emails, I'm just not going to answer it for a week because I'm in vacation in Costa Rica. You know, if you let all your clients know and be like, oh, I'm going to be out of the office, you know, proper lines of communication, they'll be like, okay, they're out of the office, or they don't answer their emails on the weekends. They're only open 9 to 5. And just because you're an online digital marketing company doesn't mean that you don't have store hours. Okay, so if you create those online store hours from the very get-go and people know them, you know, then it creates a very clear line and boundary of what can be crossed and what cannot be crossed. And then you get the Karens who are going to come up and be like, well, I emailed you over the weekends and you didn't answer. So, well, we're not open. So that's not our fault.
But the internet's never closed, right? Marcel, you got thoughts?
But
yeah,
it is.
but you're absolutely right. And I think that for every entrepreneur, every person that's going through, whether they're freelancing or they're growing their business, they already have an agency, there are different moments, right? So when you're just you against the world, boundaries is the thing that you're looking for.
Like, that's where you put the least boundaries. When you're first starting and you just want to take over the world and you want all the clients and you're answering 1 minute after,
yeah,
you know, that's where you want to get him. So that's the thin line between burnout and being able to grow healthy.
Right, but after you conquer them, and after you get those clients, after you manage to get that hurdle behind you, that's where you actually begin to put like communication in place. So now one of the things that we happen to our company a lot is we have Slack, WhatsApp, Telegram, email. They have multiple Slacks. There's like our Slack, our tool for ClickUp, Notion. It's like, where are you giving me feedback? It's like, I don't want to be managing 25 different tools. So we give them an escalation plan. So that way I know that it's like, if it is an email and I look at it, fantastic. That feeds my happiness as workaholic. But on the other hand, I know that it's highly unlikely there's an emergency. It's like, client, you ring my phone, it's an emergency. If not, they get to pay. That's on my contract. It's like, you call me for something silly. It's like, here's a bill. Like, I'm sorry, this was an emergency. You took me out of me time so I can be there for you later on. If it is an emergency, nothing happens. We just trigger the emergency process, we bring the people on, we work and fix it. But it's hard to do that sometimes when you're beginning, you're being the first client, you're trying to chase that one, it's like, and you don't want to give them so many barriers to work with you.
To circle this back around to productivity and efficiency and all that stuff that we were talking about, a lot of it for me comes down to self-respect, and I think you need to respect yourself so that your client respects you, and a lot of that comes with respecting your time. And the interesting thing that Johnny was saying is you have to establish yourself as the expert, and by just always saying yes and always bowing down to the client and stepping outside of the things that you know are right for yourself, your client is actually going to start respecting you less and less and less, and it's going to start demanding more and more and more, and it's a vicious cycle that you are not going to win. By setting up those boundaries early and respecting those boundaries yourself, your client is actually going to respect you more, see you as the expert, and it's going to let you work the way you work. And a lot of it for me, again, comes down to time management. I started not taking meetings before noon. And I just say, look, mornings are my time to work. If you guys want to talk, we can talk in the afternoon. That's when I do meetings, Slack, email, Obviously, there are exceptions, and I think the exceptions are important to note. But if that's what I usually do, right? And you don't let the exception become the rule. You say, if there's anything outside of this, we'll chat in the afternoon and we'll figure it out. And most of the time, the things solve themselves anyways.
So true. I remember a few months back, I was having meetings every single day, and I was just not able to get any work done. And one day I said, okay, I need to control this. From now on, I'm having meetings 1 day a week. So now I focus all of the meetings in 1 week, and then I can just bank all my work out the rest of the week. So, and it's just been awesome. And giving that, not barrier, I wouldn't say barrier, but the instructions or like the way of work to my clients, like this is where you get feedback, this is the process. It's just so much better to work that way because, as you said, not only is your work better, but they respect you. They know that you're doing your job correctly.
Nice. Okay, Josh, you got some thoughts?
Yeah, I think for productivity, at the end of the day, it's really about managing limited resources. And so whether it's like the time you have or the hours that you have in the day or your creative flow state, like for deep work, so like batching time and batching work, time blocking, that's really important. But yeah, that's basically it. I had a whole bunch of thoughts now it's all gone, but yeah.
He spent it all on the last live stream, y'all. He spent it all doing interviews before the show.
I was just going to say that it sounds like burnout is the opposite of production. One thing that I love about Unfold is that we only do client work Monday through Thursdays, and on Fridays they give it back to us to go learn things that we like to do, kind of reinvigorate us so that we avoid all burnout. I just thought it was kind of cool because that's different.
I actually use Unfold for my bio site, and I didn't know that this was a sponsor. And I was like, Unfold has created, it's
She's
awesome.
fangirling.
It's a different
It's what?
Fangirling.
Fangirl, no, I think it's very productive, right? We're going back to productivity, where it's like, okay, Instagram has like, you can put your links and you can do this, and it's like creates such a site that creates the productivity to be so much more like just better for you in all these ways. That like I can even create where you can pay me in my bio site. You know, you can leave a donation or you can leave whatever because there's so much free content that goes up and you're not getting paid for it. So it's like, oh my gosh, this really helped me. Awesome. Here's a donation. Thank you, Unfold. Because you can't do that. You can't do that in Calendly. You can't do that in whatever else that you're putting on, the link tree, whatever. You can't do that. So it is awesome that you do that and creates a lot of productivity. And there was something else I was going to mention, but on productivity, I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, it left right over. It was on yours.
So on the topic of like burnout and then becoming overcoming overworking, rest is productivity.
Yep.
So there are tons of tools and resources we have as digital natives that can give us the time to have productive rest. And that rest can be literally like just staying in bed for a few extra hours, or setting aside a few hours every night to sit on the couch with your spouse and your family. Like, remember that rest is productivity for us. Take some time away from the computer and enjoy that when you can.
Yeah, very important. Take naps.
Okay, here come a little bit of structured chaos. Oh, by the way, the little song stuff, that's just a little bit of my quirkiness. When I hear something that triggers a lyric, you're going to get it, so whatever. All right, get off the stage. Leave your mics. We got 30 minutes left, and we're going to do another little shift. What's up? Share your thoughts, bro. That's what it's about. You got nothing to say? You want to come up? Ask your question. Who do you want? All right, whatever. Mason, can I call on you? Jason, you out here? Joe, can you join us? Where's Jason Tennant? Is he still in the house? Yeah, come on. Joe, come on. Yeah, you're getting voluntold this time. Is Diego in the house? How dare he?
I think you just want to see lady friends.
Oh, he used to live in town, so I don't, like whenever I, Michael, John, one of you guys want to jump up here? I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it might be interesting. Oh, you want me to sit on your lap? Yeah, I lied. Can we, Melissa? Can I have you swap out? Actually, Okay. So I wanted to spend the last couple minutes of this stream, we got 30-ish minutes left, talking with probably some of the most successful folks in the room, okay? In this space specifically, Mason runs Edgar Allan, right? One of the top agencies in the whole Webflow space. Joe needs no introduction at FinSuite. Michael needs a little bit of an introduction, but the company doesn't, Unfold doesn't, and extremely successful in their own right in ways that I don't even understand, that I'm sure we're gonna talk about a lot more tomorrow. But Jason also runs FlowPros. So here's what I wanna do. I wanna spend the last 30 minutes talking about how you have become so productive, right, in the modern world. How, and specifically with the focus on maybe advice or things that somebody else starting out on a digital career, somebody who might be trying to be the next Edgar Allan, FinSuite, Unfold, FlowPros, like, what is the advice you would give them? So let's start on this side going down. Let's talk a little bit first about like, what has led to the productivity in your world, like the success that you're seeing? Let's start with that. Like, what is driving the core success over the last year or two for you, Jason?
Well, I suppose just organization. So we use a number of different tools for productivity. So we use Monday.com to organize all of our projects. We have a lot of our clients use Monday.com as well. I was hearing somebody earlier mentioning that, I think it was Marseille was mentioning that there was like 25 different tools you guys are potentially using. We narrow that down to one specific tool. So we use Monday.com to like literally, if we see everything that's green, then we're in good shape. But in terms of productivity, I try to limit the number of contact points that I give clients, because the more that you give them, the further distracted that we get. So for me, it's Monday.com is a fantastic tool to use.
So your success is attributed to just kind of structured and process and being well organized?
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, success is related to a lot of different things, but...
You could just say, I'm a badass.
No. I suppose just doing it, just getting out there and creating and just getting started. You know, earlier when we were doing the family feud type of thing, I mentioned, I forget exactly what the question was, but it was, my answer was to just get started. So you just start and you just go, and then as you continue to go and as you continue to keep moving, the success tends to find you. I mean, you do have to grind, you do have to get after it. And I was, hearing some of the people talk earlier that, I understand, those last-minute phone calls, or like the phone calls you have to take, well, not in the middle of the night, but phone calls you have to take at the last minute. I don't know where I was headed somewhere with that, but I'm not sure exactly where that was. But
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I have two things. One is that, and they're all just based on things that Unfold do. So the first thing is that in Slack we have a help wanted channel. When anybody needs help, when you feel stuck, you're not being productive, you drop something in there and you're just like, I need people to jump in this Figma file, or I need somebody to jump in this file. And immediately you go from stuck to 75 ideas and you're completely reinvigorated. And we also do this, I think one of the hardest parts about design is always, you can go in so many different directions, and the hero is always just, gosh, we can do it this way, we can do it that way. And what we do is team pushes for the website. And so Unfold's about 40 people. A lot of times there'll maybe be 20 people in there. We'll organize team pushes. And everybody will get in there and create an idea. And it just, you're not stuck when you have 20 different ideas to go from. So I think that makes us a lot more productive in that, it's not just two people or one person working on one thing. You have 40 ideas to go from right from the bat. And so everything kind of just keeps on moving, as opposed to people feeling stuck and, burn out on just, what else can I do with this hero? Because I know everybody else asked themselves that. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Help wanted channel and team pushes. Just keeps things going.
Nice. Joe?
I really subscribe to the idea of productivity being something that comes from within and something that we can define as individuals. So I like to roll this idea into finding happiness. That when we find happiness in work, that's what allows us to be productive. And this also applies to our team. Finding happiness within the team allows our team to be productive. And all these different things that we're talking about, really the end goal for me is being happy. So what does that mean? working the amount of hours that you want to work, working on the projects that you want to work on. Do I work on the weekends? Does it make me happy? If it's yes, then I'm going to do that. If it's no, then I'm not going to do that. So that's what I really look for when I'm trying to be productive, finding happiness. And every single day, I can reset that. So I find the productivity for the day. Once that day is over, it's done. Next day is here. I don't have to worry about what I did yesterday. It's a new day. And that same thing goes for happiness, that we can be happy one day or unhappy one day, and when the next day starts, we have a new opportunity. So this is how I like to look at it, that of course the tools are important, the process is important, but really the end goal is to find that happiness. So that's how I look at productivity.
Nice. Mason?
Man, so I just want to say it's amazing to be up here, and I'm a little nervous now. So like it was much easier describing the headlights that were sort of in the noir film. So that was easier. And I think the things that I look at is, it's really two things. The first being that I am so inspired by the community, and I especially like, Joe, the work that you've been doing over the years. Like I met Joe at the original Webflow conference, seen his work, and just like, what I love to see is like, I'm like, damn, I wish we had done that, And I constantly have this feeling of like, not imposter syndrome, but like, we're not there yet. And just this idea of really wanting to push and really wanting to like, make whatever we're doing better. And I think the second thing is trying to look at like this idea of like, strengths and weaknesses. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm not good at, like a whole lot. My credit card, or my driver's license is broken in half right now. Like that's just sort of an analogy for like so many things that I do, like I'm a notoriously bad speller. Like there's a ton of stuff. Like I have someone else go and read all of my emails before they go out. But what that's taught me is like, I really try to surround myself with people that complement whatever my weaknesses are. And so the things that I'm really good at and really excited about is like coming up with ideas, finding people that I love to, that I admire and that I like to work with. And then the third thing is like sales. Like I love sales. And I love the process of going through and solving someone's problem. Sales is often viewed as a 4-letter word, but it's not. And I think there's ways to be able to do it where you're being helpful. And something that like my dad had told me is like the last thing that you ever do as a salesperson is to sell. It's really about, it's a relationship business, and it's about building those relationships and then finding out like how you can provide value within the business. And I think for me, the thing that I can be productive in is finding there's so many people on our team that do so much, and like that I don't have to worry. And then I can just focus on those 3 things, like finding amazing people to work with, having ideas, and then being able to think about how we're going to sell those to clients. And then, like, when I was first getting started, it was I would ask myself like, what would Marina do? Like, I'd worked with a really great project manager, and she had instilled in me like structures and tools and all sorts of stuff like that. And then now, like, I get to work with her. And so it's like I have a great project manager, I have a great creative director, I have a great strategist, I have a great copywriter that reads all my emails. So I think it's just, it's that introspective that was talked about earlier. And then also, just find what you're really great at, be kind of judicious about it, and kind of I don't know Photoshop, and I worked at Fireworks for years because I just didn't like Photoshop. So, yeah.
I would love to jump on top of that. I think it's really great that you said that you were looking at us thinking we're not there yet, because I looked at Edgar Allan when we were thinking about dropping design and thinking, Edgar Allan has it. You do the branding great, you do the design great, it's clean, it works, I know your clients are happy, and when I see your work and I saw our design work, I thought we aren't there yet, and that's why we're dropping design. That's one of the reasons. So it's funny how that works, right?
Yeah, I think that's interesting, and then we're going to grab a question here. I'll go ahead and Mason and answer that back, because I want to give you a chance to answer that, but I'll jump in after that.
Well, I just want to say that I think that it's, I'm too close to the speaker, I think. Is it okay? Okay. But I really see that, like, you know, I view it like cross country, right? So it's like you have these people that you sort of like are competitive with, you know? Like I feel like I'm like our live stream should be better. Like, you know, like I look at that and I'm like, we can do better at this. Because like FinSuite has just killed it. And like, you know, Raymar, the work that you did and, you know, just everything. But it's like seeing that and being inspired by it and then recognizing like the things that you can do and like the tools that you guys have been building as well are just like really fantastic. And like the team that you've built, like you built an international team before anyone else. And so, yeah. But.
Yeah, I think it's, I think that's what pushes the industry forward. And I think that just again, like this event happening is a big step for Webflow. The fact that a lot of agencies like this see what the other person's doing, pushes the next one forward, they do something else, then another person sees it and they're like, oh, how do I build on that? Or what can I do to like, and so, you know, like Mason, you know, talking about some of the FinSuite stuff and whatever, like you guys are doing some cool work with the 3D stuff. And it's like, I think everyone in their own right is finding a little niche here. And I think it's interesting to see how some of the talent is gonna push the other talent forward, because somebody maybe here is watching and thinking like, how do I become the next Edgar Allan or FinSuite or Unfold or Flow Pros? And so I'm gonna let, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Hi. So work-life balance has been a really big topic lately. And so I'm wondering, as you guys have been growing your teams, has it been a challenge to get that buy-in, especially, you know, during those times when you all have to grind and maybe client requests can get crazy? Have you faced those sort of challenges getting the team on the same page as you and to commit?
Do you want Jason? Or, yeah, Michael, take it.
I was just going to say something. When I started at Unfold, Peter, he's one of the founders, he said the only way you can get in trouble here is if you work after 5 or you work on the weekends. And I guess the founders kind of set that for us of it's very people first, and truly the only way you're going to get a slap on the wrist is if you're working towards burnout. So it's pretty serious, I guess, at Unfold to have that line.
I'm not sure I have it.
What do you mean?
I work-life balance. I put in 12 hours a day, and I was putting it in this morning. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly important to try to create some work-life balance for sure. I can't say that I'm that great at it. I think maybe I'll just scoot this way a little bit because somebody's making a noise a bit. Sorry about that. But I do think it's certainly is important. It's also important too. Getting back to some of the people we were saying earlier about turning clients down that are are requesting things that are unrealistic, or you're having to put additional time in, or again clients just being. You can say no. It's okay to say no. Is the point.
I was going to say something that you said earlier. I was going to say that also, even though I stop Unfold at 5 o'clock, I mean, things that make me happy, like freelance things or just side projects, I'll do that until 3 o'clock in the morning. That brings me happiness, so I don't care how late it is.
That's what it comes down to, work-life balance. What makes you happy in your balance? Me, I love to work in the mornings on the weekends from 6 to 9 a.m. I love it. I sit on the couch, I'm on my computer, not in the office, and I feel incredibly productive for 3 hours, and then I start my weekend day. And by the end of the day, I didn't even realize that I worked. But I start the day with this excitement and something really that I'm passionate about. So I have a work-life balance, but that doesn't mean never work on the weekends or never work whenever you're not supposed to work. That's up to you. So really, you have to find what makes me happy and what do I have to do to reach that happiness. And you can forget every other idea that anybody's ever talking about. That's the end goal for your day, for your life. So think about that. And before we move on, I did not think it could get colder in this room, but it is freezing up here. I feel like my brain's frozen. Can we turn the AC off? I know, it's...
That's a Mexico joke.
Yeah, the direction said, dress like you're on a beach vacation, ... in Canada.
Well, the thing is, Florida, everybody loves their AC.
The one thing I would add to that, so like work-life balance is talked about a lot, I try to reframe it and thinking about it in terms of pace. So, that this is an ultra marathon, and that, being able to set a pace that's going to be sustainable. And sometimes, like when you set a pace, like you have to set a sprint, and then being able to have like a period of rest after that, or like, hey, we're going to be 9 to 5, we're going to make dinner, that type of thing, and just I think being realistic around like what's the pace and what's needed within that period of the business.
I'll add something team-based to that. So it's important to find that your pace for yourself. I like to encourage our team to find their pace. So we don't have any set hours. You can work whenever you want, for however long you want, at any time period that you want. You can take off whenever you want. It's up to you to find that pace. And for some people, if they're told you have to work 9 to 5, maybe that's not that person's pace. So not only do you have to find it for yourself internally, but for everybody that you work with, including your clients, you have to allow them to be happy in that work-life balance.
Nice. Okay, so we got about 15 minutes left, and I would like to turn it over to y'all. We have super talented people up on stage. Anybody have questions or something? It could be totally off the wall, whatever you want to ask. It's just open floor.
So Edgar Allan, FinSuite, Flow Pros, it's almost like a new business model, You like knock out client first, Unfold providing inspiration. Like they have like something like 80,000 followers on Dribbble, providing inspiration almost daily. I don't even know how they do it over there, like crunking like logos every single day. I would love to know, like, how did you think about like making this sort of like business model where you're like providing things for free? At many points, I think like, how is FinSuite making money when they're like working on all this like free stuff for the community? Client first do, attributes, all of that. And I would love to know, like, did you think that like of that as the business, or just like providing to the community and let that kind of like like naturally bring leads back to you?
I'll start and say that one of the things I love about Webflow is the values. And a value of Webflow is to build customer trust. And us going and having things out there, like we're actually about to release our entire process. It's called 500 questions, and it's how we approach projects. And we go through about 500 questions within every single project, but one, it's going to be good for SEO. Two, like, for client first, for Knockout, when we talk about how we build, we say, like, here's the style system that we're going to hand over to you, and also here's how it works with, like, all this other stuff. And so it's being able to put that out there and having something like very public, and it's made our work better. Like, whenever you have your work public, you're more responsible for it. You're going to spend more time with documentation. You're going to spend more time with support. Things like that. And also just like it kind of starts to demystify a lot of the dark arts. I think the next big thing to start to demystify is a lot of the like client to contract. That's one of the big barriers, and what I would see is the opportunity gap between like what Webflow can allow you to do versus like what you have like a good confidence in being able to do. So yeah, that's it, but it's about building trust with your clients.
Nice. Anybody else want to jump on that?
Yeah, sure, I'll jump on that. Well, we started creating tools first for ourselves internally. It was very evident that when you first start building websites, you need to filter through items on the page. Right? So early in the Webflow ecosystem, you were using Mix It Up, or you were using, before JetBoost. Yeah, Mix It Up. This is vintage, 6 years ago. And I remember even our JavaScript developers sometimes had trouble implementing these filtering libraries in Webflow, in Webflow CMS. So first we created the tool for ourselves because we continued to need it. And then when we saw other people needed it, well, now let's continue to build on that. So first it started out need-based. But then when we saw how much the community appreciated it and how much excitement it created in the community, we just continued, and we continued. And it's like a drug. You just want to continue providing to people because it's valuable. And of course, it also helps FinSuite as an agency. We're highly efficient because we have automated a lot of the more difficult work that comes from that our tools help us with. And now it has created a very strong inbound lead system. We do 0 outbound leads, no ads, none of that. We don't reach out to anybody. Everybody comes to us because of these tools. And also, forget about the money, forget about the leads. It is fun. I mean, for the weekends when I do the work, I'm either writing client-first content or writing up new attributes, sometimes before they're even on the schedule, just because it's so fun to think about how can we create this tool that lets you do something you wouldn't be able to do in the most simple way possible. It's exciting, and people enjoy it, and they're appreciative of it, and it makes me happy, and it makes everybody else on the team happy. So it's a huge win, right? And all of you are happy about it, so that's great. So yeah, luckily the agency is so successful that it can fund that, but now with our move with Wizzed, now we've created the excitement, we create the community around these products, and now hopefully it will convert to something paid.
Nice. Any other thoughts, Michael or Jason, on that same topic?
I don't have any products out in the marketplace at the moment, but I would just say they would serve as maybe to Joe's point and to Mason's point, they would serve as a fantastic lead gen. I mean, if you're out there making noise, that can only come back to you.
But Jason, let's maybe take it then something that does apply to you. How are you landing leads if you're not doing any of those things?
Have you been to flowpros.com?
But that's what I'm saying. So how are you driving the leads if you're not doing, right? Because Edgar Allan is super forward, FinSuite's super forward, FlowPros, you go to the website and you're like, what the fuck is this? But
that's terrible.
You out here doing some business. So like, how are you then?
100% referral. Yeah, so usually what I'll get is I'll get leads from other agencies, usually when it comes to more complicated topics. So, there'll be a design and build process that goes through. Sometimes I'm involved in the build process and never in the design process. Not a designer whatsoever, only a developer. So I'll get involved in the development process. And then the vast majority of my business is actually retainer-based hour block purchases, where clients purchase a block of hours, and then I'm available to them over a fixed duration of time. And if they don't use it, they lose it. If they use it, then we do all kinds of great things. But specifically for me, where I play is in this middle, is the technical sort of glue between, so I work specifically with enterprise or aspiring enterprise level clients. And so I provide that technical glue that sits between marketing, design, marketing ops, and demand gen. So it's Webflow at its core, and then all the things that hover around it. So whether it's Marketo or Salesforce or Pardot or HubSpot or fill in the blank with, could be Wiz at some point, any of those things like that, Algolia. So we implement, we provide that technical expertise there. So 100% of my business comes from referral, which should be inspiring to all of you. Like, I shouldn't say I have 2 other guys with me as well, but we have a great business and a shitty website. It doesn't even exist. I must as well take it down, But the funny thing is when a client, usually whenever I get involved in a conversation, it's usually at a phone call point because it's already a referral, so it's already juiced up and ready to go for me. So they go to flowpros.com and go, you don't really have a site. And I'm like, the shoemaker's children have no shoes. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's an icebreaker, and frankly, by that point, they're already ready to, to have whatever problem it is solved at that step. So I feel very fortunate. Obviously, it's not sustainable forever, right? So I will have to do something there, but in the meantime, I'm okay.
Nice. Michael, final thoughts?
I was just going to add that to Johnny's point. Unfold pushes a lot of content on Dribbble, so I may not be the best person to answer this for Unfold, but I believe most of our leads are coming from Dribbble and referrals like you. And so we focus on that as an agency a lot to just make that part of our culture, like, post on Dribbble, do something cool, put it out there, take time to yourself and do it.
All right, can we get a round of applause for our panelists? And not just for them, but for everybody else who participated. So give yourselves a round of applause. Let's get it up. Ricky, give me a little something soft, a little gentle. You ready? No, maybe, yeah. Okay. They're gonna come on here in a second. We want to do one thing before we break while we have everyone's attention. We would like to do a group photo. So we would like, we're going to pass a collection plate first. I just got this like church vibe and I'm like, let's start preaching, okay? Okay, so I'm not really sure how we're going to do this. Pat, what's the best way for us to do this photo? We didn't really think about that, but just right in here, right? So can we just have everyone kind of rush the stage right now? Just get up and come on, everybody, literally everyone in the room, everyone in the room. Even you, come on, Alicia. Everybody in the room, seriously, come on. If you're in the room, you're getting in this photo. Yep. You can, yeah, I saw you trying to hide out. No, all y'all, come on, everybody. If you're in the room, come on, climb on up here. Come on. Come on over, baby. Let's go, get it in there. Look at this, by the way. Hello, fucking community. Where's my organizing team? Find your way to the front. Organizers, if you're on the organizing team, we're gonna put the organizing team up front. So if you're Marseille, where's Johnny? Where's Melissa's here? Victoria, slide up. Come up. Johnny, yeah, not Johnny. Jesse. Where'd he go? Oh, he's here. Okay, cool. Where are we looking at? Where's Pat? Okay, everybody kind of crouch. Everybody close in. I don't know how we're going to get this, if we're going to get it, but just squeeze in tight. Just get real friendly and cozy with folks. Who's got the wide angle lens? Okay, give them a second to change the lens. Y'all get real friendly, you know, just like shake hands with somebody next to you. And you, Pat, you tell us if we need to fill in, if we need to like get a little, you just. Let's go. Say the floor. All right, everyone. We're gonna have some live music now. Oh, wait. There's one more thing. Oh, organizing team. Hold on. Y'all stay up here real quick for just one second. Just one second. Y'all stay right there, okay? Structured chaos, remember. I have no idea what I'm doing. Organizing team. I just want to show some love to the folks here. Johnny, real quick. Okay, Melissa, where'd you go? ¿Pa dónde te fuiste, Melissa? Okay, I just wanted to show some love to the people who helped me throw this together. In addition to the sponsors, these are the folks that put the work in, helping us manage the project and the finances, and helping us handle design work, and coming in last minute and helping us recruit, and handling logistics, and just helping keep things together, coordinating with FinSuite, doing lots of different things. And where's Melissa? Where's the Hype Squad? Okay, anyway, so just one more round of applause. Thank you all for helping me do this. This is amazing. Thank you all. One more round for Melissa. Okay, and as a last thing, I want to introduce my friends, Groove Church. So the rest of the night is going to go into, we got a band, and then we're going to have a DJ. So my buddy Yassine's up top. He's going to come in once the dance is done. But we got Enrique on guitar. We got Sean on the bass. We got Sammy on the drums. And is this Devin? Hold on. Dude, I had no idea. This guy must have you just shaved? My dude. This is the freshly shaved Devin. Give it up for Groove Church. Let's go. And at the, oh, yeah. Hey, wait. But wait, that's not all.
Okay. for the Flow Party members, we want to do a picture at the entrance. So everybody that's part of the Flow Party, please come with me.
Do you want here, there, at the end? Okay. All right, get ready for Groove Church. The bar's gonna open, and it's just we're about to get down, y'all. So let's get ready for it.
Thank you, Rymar. Thank you, Webflow. Putting it down, do some groovy tunes for you right now. Some church going.